Hola, jefitas, and welcome to this episode of the Everyday Jefa. I am Bessy Martinez, your host. Thank you so much for either tuning in or watching this, because remember, we are on YouTube as well. And of course, I am wearing my boss shirt today. We got the chongo up. We've got the cafecito in hand, because let me tell you, in the state of Texas today, particularly out of all days, it is cold. Yes, you heard me right. It is cold in the state of Texas. And so I'm really glad to be able to bring this conversation to you today on this cold but beautiful, bright day, because the guest that we have here today is somebody that I semi-know. So you and I are going to get to know her even a little bit more. We're going to talk about all things, jefita, life, you name it, because that's what we do here. At the end of the day, we all put our cabecitas on our pillows. We're everyday people. We are just out there making moves, whether it's for our community, for our families, for our careers. So yeah, we're just everyday jefas. So I'm really excited. And again, like I said, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure that you go back into any of our previous seasons to check out our other guests that we've had. They're amazing, inspirational women that are just out there making jefa moves. And so, you know what? We're just gonna go ahead and get started. I've changed it up a little bit. I kind of gave a little bit of the preview to my guest today. I'm using a brand new camera that I got. So for all of you content creators out there, send me all of your tips and tricks, because right now I'm just trying to figure this thing out. So we're making it work. I will post on my social media. Follow me, The Everyday Jefa, on what the behind the scenes looks like, because it's a hot mess, y'all. So I'm glad that we get to share all these experiences and let you know that we're just everyday people at the end of the day. So without further ado, jefita, introduce yourself. Tell our gente, our chicas out there, who you are, where are you located, and what it is that you do.
So thank you so much for having me. This has been such a wonderful experience now that I currently live in Texas, originally from Chicago. And I lived in Boston for about a year and a half or so. So thank you for having me. I feel like Texas has really embraced me, and you're definitely one of the people that I feel very embraced by, and almost like a huge warm hug. So thank you for having me. So my name is Ruby Herrera. I run, we say we in the emails, for Ruby Creative Co., a marketing and brand agency that I work with people all over the United States. I specifically work with nonprofit organizations, minority organizations to be more specific, and small businesses. And I could say besides just running my business, I'm also first daughter, first granddaughter, first of 20 cousins, first of the first, abuelita's favorite. No, so I'm like, if you want to talk about titles, let's talk about some titles.
Well, let's take you, everybody that is just watching and listening for the first time, let's take you back a little bit. So we have now officially entered into the 2025 year. And I had been watching Ruby for some time. And I had the honor and the pleasure of having her as a panel speaker at one of my events here in the Austin area. For those of you that don't know, I am Austin based, and I run a nonprofit as well as some other things happening. So, and every year for the last 4 years, I put together a Latina event that is really aimed on just continuing sharing our stories, inspiration, how we're leading as Latina women, whether we're the first gen or we're the seventh gen or we're the immigrant, sharing our insightful stories, how we're making impact, how we're creating history, how we're breaking glass ceilings. And we call it Latina Day Weekend because it is a whole weekend event centered around National Latina Day, which happens August the 20th. And so I got to have Ruby on our panel last year. The fact that she made the drive down to me is always an honor, because, people that don't live locally, it's a drive. Texas is spanned wide. We have a lot of major cities, but it is not like you can just, like maybe a day trip, but I've tried that before. And I've had to leave before the sun comes up, and I've been home by the time the sun goes down. So Those are the types of day trips around here in Texas. And so Ruby came and just was ready to just hit the ground running and connect with the Austin community and women really from all over. They weren't just from Austin, they were from all over of Texas. We've had people come in even as far from, I think 2 years ago, somebody from Washington, D.C. came, who's happened to be in the area and joined us for our conference. And so Ruby, we got to connect a little bit even more. I got to watch other things that she's done. So I'm going to ask you, what has been the highlight so far? I know usually people ask, like, take us back, but what would you consider to be so far the highlight of your career, of your business, since you created it?
The highlight of well, so far since I've created this business, I mean, to be completely clear, I didn't even realize I was doing the entrepreneur thing until someone told me it was called entrepreneur. I was just doing the thing. And when I say doing the thing, I mean, like, I just wanted to help my community. I just wanted to be part of the solution, where I feel like a lot of Latinos had problems or trying to figure out how they were going to build a brand or build a logo or create a logo and things like that. So when in doing that, I think that one of my biggest highlights or biggest accomplishments, and the reason why I'm referencing the story or I'm giving context, is because um, I think I have two major moments that I feel like, wow, like this is something that I should continue doing or pursuing, or this is something that is really, I look back to and I was like, this is what keeps me going. And one of those moments was when I created a brand for a friend's dad who had a small business, small cleaning pool business in Chicago, and asked me to create this brand for his dad who had no help, no resources, no anything. And I created this logo for him, and he plastered it on all his workers' t-shirts, and he promoted it all over. He made a decal for his truck. It was the most wholesome thing I had ever seen in my life, and I was 16 years old when I experienced that moment. And at that time, again, I did not know what an entrepreneur was, but I knew that in my heart, in my soul, this is what I'm supposed to continue to do, because this is helping my people. This is what helping my people feels like. And if this, to me, like, it might seem like a small thing to certain people, but to me it was such a big win that I continued to carry that moment when I was 16. So that's one of the biggest highlights. And as a highlight where I am now, I think that another one of the biggest moments in my career was when my father saw me speak. When he saw me speak, I was that was when I was 16, and for some weird reason, 10 years later at 26, my dad saw me speak at the YWCA of Lake County event, a nonprofit in Chicago, or in Lake County to be more specific. And my everyone was hugging my dad at the end of that event. They just could not believe how everybody was so incredibly proud looking at me at the stage as if they were looking at their own daughter, because the way that they hugged my dad at the end of the event, my dad was overwhelmed a little bit because he didn't know how to receive all that love, since he's very, he's still a little machista. He's still a little very like, no me toques. So he was like, no, no, like, gracias, gracias, like, ella lo hizo sola, ella, and I thought it was a very beautiful moment for me. So I take moments like that. And then, yes, I've worked with a lot of great people, a lot of great organizations, but I would say those would be the highlights in my career.
So since you tapped into the fact that you semi-started what you didn't know at the time was entrepreneurship at the age of 16, how did you end up now launching what is your entrepreneurship journey in the marketing space?
I needed a venue space. And you're probably like, what? That doesn't make any sense. I needed a venue for my college graduation. I was graduating with my bachelor's degree in graphic design, and I needed a venue. And my uncle was working construction at this nonprofit called the Miracle Center in Chicago. And he's like, I know this nonprofit that is really cool, and they have a space, and I'm working on their building, and I'm sure they'd be happy to rent it out for you. long story short, they let me use the space. I spoke with the director, I spoke with their main coordinator and everything. And one thing went into another thing, and they're like, we need a designer. And then next thing you know, they had me working on big projects like right away. Like I'm talking about, we're going to put together a gala and a fundraiser, and you're going to be working on it. And I'm just over here like, oh, okay. I guess this is what you have to do. In my mind, I'm like, this is what you have to do to get out in the industry. But I didn't realize, I was so passionate about it that I didn't see it as tedious or hard. I was just like, I just got to do it. Like that was it. I just got to do it. And I think that as what I was talking with a friend earlier about this, about like when you're younger, you tend to just not have fear for certain things. You know, like she was telling me she went on this trip and these kids were skiing and they were like, okay to fall. But then when you get older, she's like, she was terrified because she's like, I can't fall because if I fall, I don't even know if I'm going to get up. And now that we're talking and we're having this conversation, I feel like that conversation before this one was meant to happen for me to like now think about like when we were younger, we were not afraid to fall. But why? What if we brought that now?
Yeah.
And I wasn't afraid to fall at that moment. So I continued going with that nonprofit. They connected me with other people. And then next thing you know, I started to create a business that, but not only create a business, I was confident in creating this business for myself because these people at this nonprofit believed in me when I had not even believed or seen what they see in me. And I thought that that was so powerful that how can someone possibly see something that doesn't even exist yet? And yet they believe it so much that it practically exists in their world. How can I not believe in it?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's, because it's one of those, and I've said this a couple of times in some other episodes, you don't know what you don't know. But it is interesting because there are people out there that have that eye for saying things, especially in others. It's almost like the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, where, some people curate these ways of seeing things based on experience or interactions or whatever the case might be. And then there's just those people that just are gifted with being able to see that. But you're right. Like, I think I was watching something earlier, not today, but like during, the holiday and stuff like that. And it was talking about how a lot of the times what we seem to, we're starting to realize is, what is truly the difference between us as a child and us as adults, right? And it really is a couple of things. One, it's experience. That our experiences, whether they were good or bad, really defines a lot of our decision making these days. Two, perception, and that's not just our own perception, what we see in the mirror, but the perception that others have voiced to us. And then the third one is really what we want to see for ourselves in the future, right? And then, but that has also to do with what is around us. What are the trends? What are what works, what doesn't work? How are people doing things? And I think that kind of is why we sometimes we are learning that we can bring back the things from our cojones from our childhood, where we were fearless and could give two diddly squats about anything. The sky is the limit. That's all we knew. To understanding that, the sky is the limit. Who told us? At what point did anybody tell us that the sky the limit was not the limit? Like now it's like the moon and the stars and all that good stuff, right? But it's, again, I think it's there's some sense of fear that was instilled in us based on feelings that we didn't like that happened to us. So that gained some sort of brought our confidence a little bit down and brought our fear a little bit up. And it's also what people have told us to be supposedly true. Like, who said that they were right? Who said they were wrong? Nobody challenged the status quo. And I'm learning a lot. I mean, I don't know about you, but my ass got handed to me in the month of December, and I had a lot to kind of reflect on, not just good things, but I learned a lot. I feel like I almost grew up more than I wanted to in a month for some certain circumstances that happened to me. And I realized, you know what? The only person that has ever held themselves back is us. Like, we people see in us more than we see ourselves, but that's because we've never allowed ourselves the opportunity to do that, right? Like I've seen you work with some big names, big brands out there. And to anybody, it's like, how did, it's the imposter syndrome, which whoever came up with that stupid word can go away, because that is, yeah, that's a whole different topic for another episode. But you've done amazing things, you've done great things, and you've continued to evolve. And I've seen you, and I don't think I've ever not seen you when I've like spoken to you via or like either in person or you embody your logo, your brand. If for those that don't know, what is your typical brand colors and the schemes of when it comes to marketing?
My brand colors is a red, but not like a bright, like crazy red. It's a ruby red, because my husband likes to say shine bright like a ruby, not shine bright like a diamond. And then I have my iconic orange, my marigold, my, what is it, sipansuchil flower color, which I wear so proudly. And I also have a more brownish, kind of more tan color. I call it my morenita color. And I have my coral, and then my beige, which is more of a sand color. So those are that's my color palette that I use aggressively.
Which you
Wherever
should
I
in
go.
marketing. That is, not everything, of course, but for those that sometimes fear that their branding has to be on point, a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we want to make sure everything is set up, right? Everything that we've got the A together, the B together, the C together, and so on and so forth, right? And now more times than other, we just tell people, just start scrappy, but just start, start putting yourself out there, sharing what it is that you do, your gifts, your talents. You, from the lens of a marketing standpoint, what would you advise to somebody who has got it in their head that their branding has to be everything and it has to be already put together at the beginning?
I've worked with different level of clients, and that one was always, that's a scary, I say scary in the sense where I feel like I could feel how scary that could feel, that because you don't want to take that leap, because you feel like you need to have it together, like you need to be together. And I feel like that goes back to like psychologically feeling like in life you have to have it together or you can't move forward. And
Yeah.
you apply that you then transfer that and apply that to your brand, which makes you feel that way. So it makes sense. But for someone that is feeling overwhelmed, because that's really what it is, you're feeling overwhelmed about taking the next step and starting, I feel that the best way to collect yourself is, I encourage my clients to go on Pinterest or to go on different sites. I even have some different websites that I have some clients go on, where I'm like, I want you to go freely, collectively discover yourself. Like, you are going to go on a journey of yourself, and then we're going to transfer that into your brand. Because if your brand was a person, what would they look like? What would they sound like? What would it feel like to be living in that, like in that person, like in that movie Inside Out? I really do. I feel that the way that I challenge my clients and that I work with them, it does differentiate, I guess you would say, from possibly other designers, in the case where I take my clients on a journey. We're on a journey together. This is not just that I'm going to pop out, I'm going to be like a magical art machine and I'm just going to pop out some nice cutesy stuff.
What? You can't do that?
Yeah, and then, well, I do that, but that's not like that's the last phase of this session. But I feel that the clientele or the clients that I do take on go on a deep journey. And I understand that some are not ready to take on such a deep transition, such a huge mirror where you literally, I'm going to make you look at yourself so well. At the end of this brand is going to reflect the way you talk, the way you eat, the way you move, your body language. It's going to reflect all of that, and that could be very scary for people. So, and I, like I said, being someone who had to grow from that, had to go through different levels of therapy, different levels of things in my own personal life, because I've done that work, I'm able to guide my clients into this creative journey.
So define creative, because there's a lot of people that still think that they're not a creative. So, and the reason I bring this up is because, so when I started what is now, we've considered we, because thankfully there's no longer just me. I used to say the we too, we this and everything, we that. It was like, who's we? Me, myself, and I. That's the party of three. That's the we.
Yeah.
You know, we had started saying, you know, that we were bloggers, right? Back when the bloggers and the influencers were just starting out, or it was the buzzword.
Yeah.
And I would have to explain to people, we're technically all bloggers, guys, if you really think about it, because blogging is the sense of writing on digital platforms, whether it's on LinkedIn, on your website. But I think I turned blue in my face at some point just trying to explain that to people, because people just did not correlate that. So then when you tell somebody that they're creative, they're like, oh, well, I'm not artsy. I don't paint. I don't do graphics. I don't, you know, whatever. But I learned I was actually a creative because of how I mold and create things. That's what a creative is. A creative is exactly the definition of creating something, right? So in this world where most of us still probably think we're not creatives, what do you, because there comes a point, you know, as business owners, we give them a service or a product or whatever the case might be, and then they have to kind of go on their own and do this thing. So how do you help them, your clients, to be able to see that they are creatives, to continue moving on with that story after they've worked with you?
Yeah, because I work very heavily with, you know, with women of color and just minorities in general. I feel that no matter, I mean, you can't fight me on this, and I mean, because if you challenge me, it's gonna go bad, and I'm going to let you know that you have creativity in your blood. Like there is no way out of that. Like that's what it is. That's what I'm telling you. Unless you take all the blood in your body. You are creative from your ancestors, from your ancestors' ancestors. You want to talk about creativity. How is it that they were able to come to another world and create a new life? Creativity is everywhere. And once you tap into that energy, you're able to flow it into so many spaces in your life where things start to really feel like it makes sense. So I understand that. I think that when especially when working in a heavy corporate environment, when you work in a heavy corporate environment like I did as well, I feel that you're compartmentalized in this box, in this department, and that's what you do, and that's all who you are is this. You do numbers and that's it. You worksheets, that's it. And that's all you know, you think you know. But if you explore other things, if you explore cooking, if you explore singing and dancing, you are being creative. I love that I get to, you know, walk away from my computer and I cook, and I look a little crazy at first, but I feel at my highest, like top tier creative when I'm cooking. And you would think I would say like when I'm designing, right? No, no, no. When I am cooking, I feel at my top tier creative level. And it feels so beautiful to work with the different colors and the different smells, and that's just one form of creativity. Like you said, blogging. How many times I feel like I've had so many conversations with copywriters where like, Ruby, I have like this writer's block. I don't know what I'm doing. Can you like visually create maybe something to make me flow? And then once I do, they're like, they create this beautiful like paragraph. And I'm just like, whoa. I think that creativity comes in different forms. I don't think I know, because I've experimented in so many different forms of creativity that I as a designer can not only just tap in behind the computer. I can't not just be creative behind the computer. Another reason why I also don't work for corporate, which I have nothing against that. I loved and learned so much about corporate and working in that environment. It literally taught me so much that I did get to a point though that I had to tell my boss, I cannot be creative behind these four walls of a cubicle. I cannot. I need to be in an environment where I'm seeing growth, where I'm seeing plants, where I'm seeing water flow. I think that creativity is all around us. It's just about you choosing to want to tap into it. And it doesn't have to be this beautiful mural. You don't have to create this beautiful mural to think that you're creative. It could be just as simple as as going to the park. It's so simple, really. And I think that that's what we do. We live in our head so much that sometimes we over generalize it, like we overthink it. Uh, and I think it's also important to explore other spaces that are creative. There's definitely so many free events and things like that where it's like if you're searching for how to become more creative, hang out with creative people. They'll be the first to tell you, hey, try this. Hey, do this. They'd be more than happy to be like, because I mean, I am creative people and I'd be that person. And sometimes I wish I can be in those rooms with those people that don't feel creative so
Yeah.
I can inspire them and light them up and, and be like, you are creative. Let me help you find it.
Yeah. Yeah. So as they're building their, I guess, mood board or their what they want their brand to look like, and you tell them to just be creative as possible. What you're asking them is to really just live in the flow. Live in the
Yeah.
flow, what feels good to them, what makes them smile, what brings them joy, tapping into all of maybe even their six senses.
Yeah.
I think people they think that it has to be only a visual, but no. I mean, I
No.
think at least with my marketing background, that's one of the things they tell people. It's not what you do for people, it's how you make them feel, right? And you have to, capture these marketing efforts without words sometimes because you can't
Mhm.
feel a piece of paper or an Instagram post. So
Yeah.
how are you gonna be able to visually make them feel something, right? It's almost like opposite of each other. But
And
so they've made it through their mood board. They've gone to Pinterest, whatever. They put together their pictures, their fonts, da 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 da. What then?
what's after that? After you've collected how this makes you feel, how it smells, how it looks, how all of those things, we move on to, well, before you even do or I have you do all that, I have you fill out my survey, my very detailed survey that I've created that has I pride myself in it being also kind of like a creative psychology, because when people fill this out, not only are there questions that sound similar to other questions, but I make you really think about the personality of what your brand would look like if it was walking down the street right now. And because of that, I simplify it in that way where you don't have to be a designer like myself to be able to fill something like that out. You just have to be in tune with who you are. So after we figure that out and we've dealt with all the paperwork, we go into what I say my 3 phases. And my 3 phases consist of, the first phase is all of that, the survey and the mood board, collecting your ideas if a client does happen to be needing some more guidance. Second phase, we tap into mood boards, not just mood boards, and then color palette and typography. Color palette and typography, as much as people like to, I feel like people like to like minimalize that. They're like, oh, it's a color palette. But if you yourself said, you're like, Ruby, like your color palette is like literally everything about your brand. What some people fail to understand is that sometimes the color palette, typography, and supporting elements and graphics is what is more recognizable, what will get you recognized faster than your logo. And I feel that people really fail to look at what they say, the little things are really the big things. And I'm a little things person because I focus on the little things because that's the strongest part of the brand. Now, yes, we want a powerful logo. Yes, we want powerful branding for you, but the word branding has so many different branches and layers that I'd like to focus on those things first. Then after that, we phase into level 3. And level 3 is now consists of concepts. And we set a timeline when, depending on our timelines or whatever, or our availability. And then we review depending on what package you decide to go with. It could go 1 to 3 concepts. I do not go farther than 3 concepts when we work on this together. I think that it is important to make final decisions. A lot of times what ends up happening is that when you like a lot of different things, it's okay to like a lot of different things. But for a brand, it's not so okay to like a lot of different things, in the sense that if you change your branding constantly, it confuses your audience. and you start to lose people that way because it almost looks unreliable. What if you met someone that kept changing it up on you all the time? You would think this person is kind of unreliable. So that's how I'm putting that perspective back into branding. And if you look at it in that way, then you understand it a little bit better.
Yes, yes. No, uh I learned the hard way that if you're gonna change something, just wait. You can change it on the back end, don't make the
Yeah.
announcement yet, in other words. Because it's like changing your hair color. You're gonna freak people out if you go way too much and people were like, where did this come from? Yes, just like a name. I've changed, and I've been asked that, like, who does your marketing, who's done your
Yeah.
logo, who did your website, and I just look at everybody and I'm like,
Me.
guys, I would not recommend it, but my background is marketing. So I
Yeah.
knew when I walked into this exactly all the things. But it doesn't mean I didn't do the changes and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And so, but yeah, but then there's the offset result too, right? Where you as the person, I start to become the brand, even though you are technically the brand, right? But a lot of people think that because they have a company and they have 10, 15 employees, that they're not the company. Everybody collectively, yes, everybody is what makes the company, but you as the individual, the owner, the co-owner, the founder, co-founder, whatever the case might be, you are the brand. You are the brand. I don't like pink. I never have liked pink. I've always been a tomboy,
You look so great in pink, though.
but
I
pink
feel-
became the color that was the brand, and I fell in the brand. I became the brand, which is so
Yeah.
funny because I would always detach myself from it. And I got to the point where I was like, you're just giving yourself a bigger workload when you do that instead of embracing it. Because
Yeah.
we sometimes as creative, we try to detach ourselves, the individual, from the creative output, versus you are one of the same. And I think sometimes, especially as solopreneurs, we do that a lot, which is why I said I learned the hard way. And I was like, yeah, well, whatever. Pink it is. Like, obviously, I started this for a reason. But I think it's very scary because you think that if you're changing, your business is going to change too, and that's okay too. And that's why people do rebrands, but you don't see the rebrands happen for, like, I would say maybe 5 years is probably the least number of years that I've
I
seen.
would say that as well, just to confirm that I to definitely agree with you. And not only that, this is a really well thought out rebrand. This is not just like a splatter here and a splatter of a different color there. No, no, like these people like really, and I know because I have done rebrands and we work really intensely on not and making sure that it's not going to reflect the previous branding and it's not going to confuse the audience, or some people are like, I just want like a slight shift from but a better version of what I already had. And I have clients like that too. Others are like, scratch everything I did. I want 100% everything new. I don't want it to. I'm like, are you sure you know what you're doing? Because you got an audience, and it's like, okay. So it really depends. But either direction that you go in, it's a really well thought out rebrand.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't foresee ours happening for another 5 more years.
Yeah. No, you
Because
have a really great brand. I love your brand.
we've been really good at making it very clear why we
Mm-hmm.
have different logos and what each logo stands for, even though they're part of the bigger. And I'm like,
They're the umbrella. They're part of the
yeah.
umbrella.
So, but see, that's the other
Yeah.
thing too, is a lot of people don't understand that part of it too, that,
Ah,
there are different, I mean, we can go into a whole full conversation as to
I
when it
know,
comes
right?
to,
Like, I
like,
completely understand you though. Like, I'm totally like, as soon as you said, and I'm like, the umbrella. I
yes.
understand the umbrella concept.
Yeah. But anybody from the outside is like, no, you should only have just one and one should symbolize all. And I'm
That
like,
would be
okay, we can give you
confusing to
all of
me.
these. Yes.
I would be so confused. I'd be
Yes.
like,
Yes.
wait, isn't this part of it doing that and not this? But they're using the same. Yeah, that would question myself.
Yes. No, but you've done amazing work. And it just watching, like you now start to show us a little bit more, I think, about behind the scenes on what your
Yeah.
days are looking at. You're also going into the content creator space, even though that's not what we call
You know,
ourselves.
we're a content creator family, no sé qué. My husband recently got into, he's really digging deep into this Pokemon industry. I don't
Oh
know
my
if you're
God.
very
Him
familiar
and
with it, but
myself could talk probably for hours
it
about
is no, but girl, this is an industry that's like they're selling out packages and then it's like blowing up like shoes, for example.
hmm
Like when the new Jordans came out, talk about marketing, talk about branding. Like these Pokemon people are coming out with like what it is like a small package of cards and then selling it on the market for like 3, 4 times what it costs.
Yep.
And so he's going into this whole like my husband now bought all these lights. He has like all this like the backdrop no sé qué and all this. And I was like, okay. He's like, I learned a lot from you. And I'm like, I'm still learning from me. Like, I don't even know exactly what I'm still doing. And he's doing this whole thing where now I've helped establish his new business. He got an LLC. This is like a real thing with people. He met like this pro golfer that wanted to exchange, like buy all these Pokemon items from him. Like my husband's going into some serious Pokemon stuff. And I would never say that so loud and proud, like, because I'd be like, what are people, but you know what, me vale, because my man's is doing his thing. He's being a whole entrepreneur while maintaining his 9 to 5, and he's loving what he does, and he's a whole content creator in the making, and he's doing really well at it, and I'm proud of it.
Yes. No, that's good. Congratulations to him. But
Yeah.
that, like, how long have y'all been married now? A few
Six
months? No?
months or so? Yeah, like 6 months is, but my church wedding is next month, and I'm so excited here. Oh, it's literally one of my prayers come to life. I feel very blessed. I'm very fortunate that I created a life. I strategized this career, this entrepreneur journey that has led me to reach certain milestones in my life that I've always wanted, and one of them was to have a church wedding, to have a big church wedding. And I completely understand that. Like my little sister, she's like, I'm gonna elope. I'm like, and I'm here to support you. Like, you want it low key, go to Vegas, come back and you married. Who's my new brother-in-law? Like whatever you want to do, I support it. But in my world, in little Ruby's world, I always wanted that big traditional Mexican church wedding, and that's exactly what I'm getting. And I feel so blessed to be able to say that because I'm so proud of it. 'Cause I worked so hard to accomplish that.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah,
it's, I think we're finding that now, especially as either first gens or the immigrants that have been here probably when they came really small, like myself, for instance, that I came really small, we're realizing that there's the traditional, absolutely, but
yeah,
while still keeping true to our roots and our culture and our heritage, we can still modernize things and be happy and proud about all of it. And I think ties right back down to like the whole marketing, right? Like you can still uh be who you are authentically. That's going to show up in your business, in your brand, in your marketing, and how you type out things. What do you think has been probably the hardest thing when it comes to your field that you wish that people could just could really truly understand when it comes to marketing, that there is flexibility maybe, or that it doesn't have to have to be one way, or hey, how about you only start with these three things and then just let it be? Like, what is that one thing that you wish you could shape people up and be like, okay, guys, I'm going to say this once. That's all I'm going to say about when it comes to marketing. From my perspective, go.
So I mean, I feel like I have a couple of things. I think we are our worst enemies, right? So I think that negative talk. Oh my gosh! Even if I hear my brother-in-law say something, I don't want to. No, don't bring that energy in the room. I'm breathing the same air you are. You're bringing that. Nope. Don't do that. Like I am very like that person. Oh my god, no me da pena. I mean, right? But one thing that I really as far as, well, in the marketing industry, and how I feel like something that had been something that I want more people to know about, I guess, my industry and what has made it difficult, because this has also been a very difficult journey. And I'm not going to just be like, oh, todo es de color de rosas, because that's not true.
Yeah.
And I think that what some of the hardest things that I faced early on in my journey was specifically like people not looking like me, which was like a really big thing for me because every time I try to look up to a great designer or someone that was like really well known and received all these awards. I even went to a graphic design gala show last year here in Dallas, and I did not see many women up there, if not probably any, and they were mostly white men up there. And I was like, where are my Latina? Where are my people of color up there? Like, I want to be up there on that stage, on that, on walking and getting my award and stuff. So that's something that's very real still now in our industry, in the marketing and the design industry, is that there's not many people of color in this industry, and I know why. I feel like I know why, and that's because there's a chiquita, or especially growing up in at home. It's kind of like art's not going to make money. Designing art, all that. What is that? My dad didn't understand it. My family still even now doesn't understand it. I'm still doing my thing. But it's like because of them not understanding, it's like you put it in your head that you also like can achieve it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not real. That's not realistic because there's so many other resources, and I think the fear of rejection, the fear of going out there. So that's exactly like I feel like putting yourself back into that mentality like I mentioned earlier in our conversation, where it's kind of like be that little 18-year-old again. Be that kid again, where don't have fear for anything, and you go up to somebody and be like, how do you do this? How do I figure this out? And another thing, as far as when you're building, working in my corporate job helped me so much. And I feel like people don't talk about that a lot. And I want to talk about it because I feel like everyone just wants to jump out and they just want to jump into entrepreneurship. I'm be like, Mija, it's not for the weak. This what we do is not for the weak. And it's out here, te van a comer alive. Like, and I say that because I'm like, I'm just trying to save you from the chaos that you're about to endure, because
Mm-hmm.
having my 9 to 5 and maintaining my what was my side hustle and then a full-time business was ridiculously hard. And I know, like, I'm seeing that in my husband right now, and he has moments where he freaks out, where
Yeah.
he's like, I don't know if I can maintain both. Where I'm like, babe, this is this right here, what you're going through is going to set up the foundation of your business.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to get through this stage to see the light at the end of that other stage. But you cannot see the light first. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just mention that like my corporate background really did prepare me, which what I'm trying to say is that having that income, having that financial stability come in to be able to fund my dream business, to fund my dream client one day, like what really, really is what set me up and what helped me. So those are the things I would say that were the most challenging, was mentally pushing through an all-nighter to get this project out because that client was going to recommend me to 5 other people that they know.
Yeah.
That's what was the hardest part about getting through my entrepreneur small business marketing journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had the same conversation with people before. I've been on panels, for financial literacy or building generational wealth. And they've like, how did you go from here to there? And I was like, well, I made sure I was taken care of for at least an X amount of period of time, that I wasn't relying just on my husband's income, and that I knew that at least for 6 months I was going to give myself the green light to go. Because it's not easy, especially if you have family to feed, and, you might be lucky because I have my husband and stuff like that, but some people don't have that. Right. And so it's like, how do you strategically do this? Well, you either go really extremely part-time, meaning no more than 5 hours a week as you build up, and you save at the same time, put money aside, because there's a difference between saving for your future and saving for your business.
Yeah.
And so, I had to break it down to them, and I was like, and then I just gunned it, and I went full on force. I said, I have no backup. I have savings, yes, but that's not my backup. That is my savings. That is what's going to keep me afloat for the X amount of period of time.
Right.
But there is no backup. I'm going to either do this or I'm going to stay where I'm at. But I know that if I stay where I'm at, I'm not happy. There's something more for me, and I can feel it. It's like eating me from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
And I just go for it. And I was like, and I don't tell anybody about my dreams. I just do it because sometimes people don't understand what you're trying to do, because it's not for them to understand, but we don't see that sometimes. We think that, they just, they just are not happy for us or not excited. They're not excited for you. They just don't understand. And you can't expect that from them, right? But as an entrepreneur, I can tell you, my husband, I was like, buddy, it takes 6 months minimum to even figure out what it is that you're trying to do. You only gave it 3. Nothing's going to happen in 3 months. He's like, I'm going back to work. I was like, I'm okay with that because I knew that was going to happen anyways.
Yeah.
It's not for the faint of heart. Like, hello,
No.
people just now know who Bessy is, and I've been doing this for 5 years.
And I admire your stuff. So even before, I feel like I found a lot of your content and just what you were doing, the movement you were putting out there. I think before I even got to Texas, believe it or not, I have some connections in Chicago too that are familiar, that know about you, and I thought that was so amazing. So that's why I am so grateful. When you reached out, you're like, Ruby, you want to be on this panel? I'm just like, what, me, little me, like, yeah.
And I'm headed to Chicago in May.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then you'll be in Chicago. The world is a funny thing. When you post, I was all like, Chi-town.
And I've never been. So
Oh
I'm
my
excited
gosh.
and I'm nervous at the same time. And it's
going
again,
to be amazing. People are going to embrace you so well. I can feel it in my soul.
I am like sitting here going, first of all, what am I going to wear? So really, that came to my mind. Because we all know that it all has to be on brand.
So very loud and proud. I mean, I'm very Chicagoan. I feel like when people meet me, they're like, "You're not from here, are you?" No.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not from here. I'm a very Chicago. I'm very proud of it, and I feel like you are going to be in the most perfect environment or surrounded around the most amazing people. And I don't even know the people really that are attending this event, but I just know that I had a friend go to
changers. I guess that's based what it is. It's just a lot of people that are just, change making people that are just either entrepreneurship or leadership in their companies or wherever it is that,
Every person that I know that has gone to Chicago always has a very iconic story. That's actually my word for this year. My word this year is iconic. So every person that I've met that goes over there comes back feeling iconic, and it never fails. It never fails. Especially when they meet me. For some reason they think I look like Chicago, like I'm the face of Chicago. And they're like, Ruby, like you're like so like I hope all Chicago people are like this. And I was all like, you just go over there, experience it for yourself, and you'll come back a different person. And I feel like that's the energy that I'm sending you, because you're going to come back a different person when you come back from Chicago.
I think I'm already a different person because this is the first large stage that, one, is not mine, curated by me. And 2, nobody knows who the heck I am in that area, which is also frightening, but at the same time exciting, because you're like, how are you going to mess this up? These people don't even know who you are. So like...
What did they say? Imagine everyone naked? I don't know if that works, because I've never really
doing that a long time ago, because that's just really awkward. I don't think I want to envision people naked, period.
Oh my gosh. No, I've never really even thought of that. Like, no, it never hits. People say it, but I've never done it.
No, it never sticks. It never sticks and never sticks. So what would be your best advice for anybody that's watching or listening based on our conversation, whether it be from, your career, profession, your business standpoint, or just life in general, that you want the Jefas to be able to take away?
I want to say that especially since we're doing this so early on in the year, I think this is such a beautiful episode. So I appreciate you having me so early in the year, because I'm going to look back at this video and I'm going to tell this to myself, to remind myself, as a reminder for myself and for those who are also watching, which is to do things, not just only this year, but to do things that make your inner child happy, because that's what's going to fuel every single other part of your life and make you happy. So for people that are looking for that, I'm not happy, what makes me happy? Think about your inner child and work on what makes that person happy. Do those things. Be more creative. Be more outspoken, unapologetically, like you were when you were a child. And you're going to feel so fulfilled with life that it's going to fuel your career. It's going to fuel your family. It's going to fuel the next thing that you want to do in life. And that's the best advice that I could give to anyone watching this.
All right. This or that. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Road trip or bike ride?
Road trip. No, I did the bike ride in Chicago. I almost died. I almost died.
Winter or summer?
Man, what, Texas summer or
You
Chicago
in Texas
summer?
now, so you can't say
Hey,
Chicago. You're in
because
Texas now.
I was in Chicago all of June last year, and it was a blessing. Acá ustedes estaban horneando. Aquí it was an oven. I was over there living my best life in Chicago for a whole month of June. So I'm gonna say winter because I'm in Texas now.
Let's see, sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise. Sunrise. Absolutely beautiful to see the pink sunrise when it comes out. Oh.
I used to be able to wake up early enough to see the sunrise. Now, now just stick to the sunsets because I stay up a little bit longer than usual.
That's funny. No,
Yeah,
the sunset reminds me that I didn't complete the things that I put on my list that I needed to do, and I'm just like, oh shit, I need to get back to it, and I need to, yeah. But the sunrise, it just reminds me that I'm just grateful that I was able to even see another day. That's why I like looking at the sunrise.
Well, Ruby, you and I could probably chat for hours, I'm pretty sure. So I thank you again for, saying yes to the invitation. This is a little different, obviously, than what we did the last time go around conversation. Actually, I stepped away from the entire everything from Latina Day just because I like to allow the people that are taking up space take up space, so I heard clips of it afterwards or whatever you all posted and everybody walked away just completely like loving y'all's panel for sure. That was probably one of the when we got the feedback forms that was one of the ones up there that a lot of people truly enjoyed, and so I really appreciate you.
That's so awesome to hear the feedback that you've received. Oh my gosh, that's amazing to hear.
Yeah, most of the time nobody knows who's running the show because I make sure that actually nobody knows who's running the show. It's just again because I don't like it to be about me. So
it's not. I don't think it's you make it even about you. I met you in person. I really can say that you were so embracing. I felt like I've known you for a long time, and I literally had just met you when I got to the hotel. And I think that that's the best way to feel so, especially in our community where it's kind of like, oh, mis tías amargadas and nadie me apoya, and it's like we don't like. It's beautiful to have someone like you run this organization that I really feels like I feel embraced as an entrepreneur. I honor you, you honor me, and we just trying to see each other level up.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I can take a pop-up version up there to the Dallas area of the other stuff that I do down here. So, but until then, let everybody know where they can find you and how they can support you.
So I am on I'm heavily on Instagram more than anything at Ruby Creative _Co, or my Facebook is just Ruby Creative Co or rubycreativeco.com.
All right. And how can they support you?
Just by, I don't know, reaching out to me, but talk to me. I'm a whole regular ass person. And I tell people that. How can people support me? I just want you to, besides being just friends in entrepreneurship, I just want to get to know you. Let's have a conversation. That's the way that you can support me in what I do. And if you believe in what I do, then follow me and see all the things that I'm doing and maybe ways that I can inspire you and help you. But I'm just really here just to support people in their journey, wherever it is that is or looks like for them.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. Jefitas, thank you again so much for tuning in to this episode or watching on YouTube. We know that you could probably be doing anything, sparing an hour or so of your time, but you are here listening to these women, these amazing chingonas that are just out there doing the thing, making jefa moves. And at the end of the day, like Ruby said, we're just, whole ass human beings, with jobs and generational traumas and all kinds of stuff, but at the end of the day, we're just, fighting our version of our own fights, just to be able to make life a little bit easier for the generations behind us. So thank you all so much. Nos vemos hasta la próxima. Again, make sure that you go back and you check out all of our previous seasons and all of the guest speakers that we had there. We are super excited to be bringing you more conversations, more inspirational women to the forefront. And please let us know, what would you like to listen more of? Who and what kind of topics would you like to have us also bring to your favorite whatever platform, podcast platform? I can't even speak anymore. That's how you know we're done. All right, chicas, nos vemos hasta la próxima. Have a great one, and we'll see you on the other side. Hasta luego.